Well, hello everybody, welcome to Jeff's baking blog. Today I'm going to make an oatmeal sandwich loaf. This is from a recipe, or based on a recipe from King Arthur Flour or King Arthur Baking. It did look quite good, I have to say, so I thought I would give it a try. And it's quite straightforward really, and not too many ingredients, just flour and oats are the main ingredients basically. So I'll go straight on to those ingredients, and for the flour I have 360 grams, which is 2 1/3 cups plus 1 tablespoon of bread flour. That's based on scooping packed flour into a cup at 150 grams per cup. I have 100 grams, which is 1 cup of rolled oats. Now these are old-fashioned rolled oats. If you can't get those, or you don't have those, I think almost any oats will do basically. I have some lukewarm milk here, and that is 285 millilitres, which is 1 1/4 cups minus 1 tablespoon, and I have that at about 42 degrees Celsius, 110 Fahrenheit, 105, 110 Fahrenheit. Then I have 28 grams, 2 tablespoons of butter, which is very soft because it's been out for a while. I have 63 grams, 3 tablespoons of honey, and a teaspoon and a half of salt. And then to brush the top of the loaf before it goes in the oven, I have 1 egg white, which I've mixed with a tablespoon of water. I've just whisked those together, and I have an additional 2 tablespoons of oats, and I probably won't use all of those oats. And then for the yeast, I have instant yeast, 1 packet, which is 8 grams. So I'm going to do this in my stand mixer, but you could do it by hand. It just takes longer for kneading. So I'm going to put my milk into the bowl, and then the honey. All the ingredients are going in together, but I'm going to do it in a particular order. And then I'm going to sprinkle my yeast over the top, and then I'm going to put the butter in as well. Followed by the oats. And then the flour. And then finally I'm going to sprinkle the salt over the top. And then I'm going to knead this until it becomes a springy dough. May still be a little bit tacky, but it should be springy. I think it's going to take 6 or 7 minutes. Of course, as ever, if you need to, scrape down the bowl, but as you knead it, it should actually clean the sides of the bowl anyway. So that's kneaded quite nicely. And I'm actually just going to tip that out, but I'm going to put just a tiny little bit of oil on my counter, because I don't want to add any more flour in to the dough at this stage, but I just want to form the dough into a ball. and the dough is still tacky, but it's nice and stretchy. And if I press it, it begins to spring back a little bit, but not all the way. So I'm just going to form that into a ball like that, and you can see it springs back a little bit, so that means that it's kneaded to the right stage, I think. So I'm going to put that into a lightly greased bowl, and I'll put the top side down and then turn it over so that the whole thing is coated in the oil. And then I'm going to cover that with plastic wrap, and I'm going to leave it to proof in a warm place for about an hour until it's fluffed up quite nicely. I think it will just about double in size, but because of the oats it may not actually activate to that degree and double in size. But after about an hour I'll come back, and then we'll shape the dough and put it into a lightly greased loaf tin, which measures 9 inches by 5, 23 centimetres by 13 centimetres. And so I'll do that when I come back in an hour. So the dough has been resting in the bowl for an hour, and it has grown slightly or somewhat, but it hasn't quite doubled in size, I don't think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tip it out onto a lightly greased surface, and then I'm just going to flatten it down and form it into a rectangle which is about 6 inches by 8 inches. And then I'm going to take the top and bring it down to the centre like that, and using the heel of my hand I'm going to push it in to seal it, and then I'm going to bring the 2 corners in and seal them as well, like that. And then I'm going to bring the top down again, and then again, and then just tuck that in and bring it and press again. So we have it quite nicely sealed. Like that. And I'm going to pick that up and put it into my loaf tin, which is greased. Press it down to spread it fairly evenly. And then I'm going to cover that with a lightly greased piece of plastic wrap, and I'm going to leave it for between an hour to an hour and a half, or even up to 2 hours. I want it to rise up so that it comes to about an inch above the surface of the pan. So and then once it's done that, and towards the end of that period of time, I would preheat my oven to 180 Celsius, 160 Celsius with the fan, 350 Fahrenheit, and then I'll come back and we'll brush the top with the egg white and water mixture and sprinkle some oats over, and then we'll bake it in the oven. So I'll be back with you when this has risen above the top of the pan. So it's been exactly an hour, and my dough has risen above the top of the pan by about an inch. So this is how it looks at the moment. And what I'm going to do now is simply to take a brush and brush some of my egg white and water mixture over the top. Just like that. And then I'm going to take the 2 tablespoons of oats and I'm going to sprinkle those over, but I probably won't need all of them. Just like that. And I'm going to put that into the oven and I'm going to bake it for between 35 and 40 minutes until it's risen and it's turned a nice golden brown colour. And if I take it out of the tin and tap it, it sounds hollow. So then I take it out of the oven, take it out of the tin and allow it to cool completely before I come back and show you the results. I baked the oatmeal sandwich bread for 35 minutes and then I tested it and it was clearly baked through. So I've taken it out of the oven, out of the tin, and I've allowed it to cool down on a wire rack. So I've sliced it now and this is what it looks like. And it rose nicely in the oven, has a lovely shape to it. And the crumb, the texture looks good as well. So I'll have a taste of a small piece. It's lovely and soft. And it has a very nice taste to it and a nice texture as well. So for me this is perfect, this sandwich is. It would suit me ideally for my lunch. So that's going to be it for this recipe and I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have, please give me the thumbs up below the video and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on and that will take you to the recipe, and I'll put a link for it below the video as well. And I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.